Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfold.audio. At this time, there were a few strange laughs from the other end. What do you think? I said that this mock is out of control. After that, he added, he killed the highest naval officer in the East China Sea when he went out to sea, which shows that he has no respect for the Navy and the world government. In addition to his talent and strength, as well as the speed of developing the pirate group. Once he grows up, he will become a big problem. So, let's take this opportunity to get rid of him. Sengoku frowned. Although he knew that this guy must have received money from Guild Tesoro. However, there is one thing he cannot deny. If Mach is allowed to develop, he will become a big problem for the Navy and the world government. Because from the intelligence, it is known that Mach has already received a lot of crew members. Obviously, he has great ambitions. Unlike Kuma and Hawkeye, who are alone. Unlike Hancock, who has always stayed in the windless zone and was at ease as her empress. Unlike Jinbei, who is peaceful. And not like Doflamingo, who is only interested in making money. So, he couldn't help but think about this question in his heart. What did you say? Guild Tesoro once again received a report from Mr. Tanaka. At this time, his eyes couldn't help but widen, and his eyes were full of excitement. Mr. Tanaka, Drought Jack of the Beast's Pirates has brought Runty and Peggy Wanda, who are running away from the Flying Six, to the port. After Guild Tesoro came back to his senses, he immediately asked, why are they here? Mr. Tanaka, they should be here for the animal-type devil fruit that is being auctioned. Guild Tesoro frowned. The auction house belongs to Doflamingo. Or it is jointly opened with him. There will be 1 or 2 devil fruit auctions every year to attract customers. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that today is the day of the auction. Devil fruits are the most important strategic materials for any force. Over the years, he has also bid for a few, the parahuman-type piercing fruit selected by Tanaka, and the parahuman-type lucky fruit of Bakara. That's how it all came about. 2 of the 4 emperors, Big Mom and Beasts. Big Mom loves the superhuman type, while Kaido loves the animal type. These years, the devil fruits that have been auctioned at the auction house have basically been bought up by these 2 pirate groups. This time, the auction is for an animal type devil fruit. How can the people from the Beast's Pirates not come? When he thought of this, Guild Tesoro's mouth corners could not help but slightly rise. He already had a plan in his mind. He turned to Mr. Tanaka and said, send the animal-type devil fruit in my inventory to the auction house, and build up momentum for me. And make sure to let Mach know. Mr. Tanaka and Bakara looked at each other and were overjoyed. Because they already understood Guild Tesoro's plan. This is to kill someone with a borrowed knife. Mr. Tanaka, I understand, let's do it now. He is very fast, and with his ability, his speed is much faster than the slow Mach and Kalina, so, when Mach and Kalina came to the casino, I saw the auction house across from the casino, promoting it vigorously. Today is the auction house's annual devil fruit auction. Lord Tesoro is in a good mood today. So, he also took out an animal-type devil fruit, to have fun with everyone. So, you are lucky to come here to bid for devil fruit people today. The chance of getting a devil fruit is doubled. Animal-type devil fruit. Mach was surprised. Kalina, are you interested? After saying that, she added, if you are interested, you can enter by paying a 10 million admission fee. 10 million admission fee. Mach was surprised. Kalina nodded. It's really shady. Mach had to sigh at Doflamingo's way of making money. Although it was really shady, anyone with a little strength and financial resources. Who wouldn't want to fight for it? Especially those whose potential has been exhausted and whose strength can no longer be improved. There are also those who are eager to improve their strength in a short period of time. It is simply a fatal temptation. However, this is too coincidental. Just now he was fighting with Guild Tesoro, and he sent another devil fruit in return. And he publicized it. It was so noisy that he couldn't help but pay attention. Is it such a coincidence? Mach is not a fool. It is obvious that Guild Tesoro's behavior is to make him pay attention to this auction, but why? Want him to bid for these 2 devil fruits. Then, he secretly raised the price. Let him bid at a very high price. Then make a lot of money and vent his anger. It's impossible. Guild-Tesoro is the Golden Emperor, one person the berry that monopolizes 20% of the world. Even if these two devil fruits are sold at a sky-high price, they are just a drop in the bucket for him. Why is that? Mach couldn't figure it out for a moment, but no matter what, Mach is really interested. Kalina, let's go in and join in the fun. Kalina was shocked. It takes 10 million berries to enter the venue, and 20 million berries for 2 people to enter. And there is no return. In other words, if you don't bid for anything, the 10 million berries will not be returned to you. Mach didn't care, and took her directly, paid 20 million berries, and entered the auction house. After entering the auction house, he found that many people had already entered. Moreover, they were all fierce and ferocious, and they were not easy to mess with at first glance. The most important thing is that some of them looked greedy when they looked at him. Mach couldn't help but touch his nose. I have to say that the bounty order issued by the Warring States period is really effective. But Mach soon found that the expressions of these people changed drastically. With some fear in their eyes, Mach turned his head and looked behind him, because he had already felt that someone came in behind him. It was just that he didn't pay much attention to it before. After all, it was normal for people to come to the auction house, but now the expressions of these people made him curious. Just one look, Mach was stunned. There were 3 people in total. The leader was tall and strong, with a metal jaw on his mouth, 2 ivory-shaped decorations on his head and shoulders, and a fur coat. He also wore a belt with the logo of the Beast Pirates. The person on the left was a tall, long-legged and extremely fit young woman. What was special was that there was a pair of horns on her head similar to bull horns, and she was wearing a light pink flower-shaped mask. The person on the right was a young man, also wearing a mask. But his mask was black and white. These 3 people were so iconic that Mach recognized them at a glance. These 3 people are Drought Jack, Runty, and Page, one of the Beast's pirates. At this moment, Mach finally understood what Guild-Tesoro was planning. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is to make him quarrel with the people of the Beast's pirates, so that they can fight and finally become enemies. As long as they become enemies, even if he defeats these 3 people this time, next, he will face the suicidal maniac Kaido. That guy is crazy. I have to say that this Guild-Tesoro is really a good idea. Then I want to see what kind of animal-type devil fruit you sent over. Let you be so confident that he will fight against the Beast's pirates for this. Hey! Don't block the way. At this time, Drought Jack's eyes fell on Mach, who was blocking them, and his eyes were a little impatient. If this was not the territory of Doflamingo and Guild-Tesoro, he would have slapped the guy who dared to block him away. Of course, it's not that he is afraid. But the 3 parties have cooperated, so they have to give some face. At this time, Runty and Page, one behind Jack, recognized Mach. There was a look of surprise in their eyes, and then they looked at each other. This guy is the new Shichibukai Mach. The new Shichibukai Mach. Jack was slightly stunned, and then he looked at Mach carefully. At the same time, his eyes became more solemn. Since the Navy created the Shichibukai, all those who became Shichibukai are extraordinary. Therefore, he did not dare to underestimate Mach. However, he was very confident in his own strength. Boy, when Jack was about to speak, an auctioneer took the microphone and walked onto the podium. Behind him, there was a person holding a box of devil fruits in both hands. Welcome everyone to participate in this year's devil fruit auction. The first devil fruit today is prepared by the auction itself. Animal System Black Panther Fruit. The starting price is 100 million berries. Each bid cannot be less than 10 million berries. Jack, Runty, and Peggy One all had bright eyes. The animal Black Panther Fruit, although not as good as the ancient species they ate. But among the ordinary animal type, it is considered good. Jack glanced at Mach. We'll talk after this auction is over. As he said that, he actually bypassed Mach and walked to the front row to sit down. 110 million berries. 130 million berries. 160 million berries. At this time, the bidding has begun. Because this animal Black Panther Fruit has great appeal to everyone present, Jack's mouth corners slightly raised, with a bit of disdain on his face, and then he raised his hand and shouted, 200 million berries. As soon as this price came out, everyone present was silent. It's not that they can't afford the price. But they are afraid of Jack's strength and the beast pirates behind him. They were all thinking, is it worth it to provoke the beast's pirates for a devil fruit? Mok curled his lips. The animal Black Panther fruit was indeed pretty good in the animal type, but it still didn't catch his eye. He was more looking forward to the one that Guild Tesoro took out, so he didn't bid. Are there any more bids? The auctioneer shouted loudly. The people present looked at each other, and no one spoke for a while. Yes, they wanted this devil fruit, but they thought they didn't have the strength to bear the anger from the beast's pirates. Not to mention Kaido, even Jack, Runty, and Page One at the scene could sweep everyone present. Hee. At this time, Jack sneered, turned his head, and glanced at Mok. There was a bit of satisfaction and contempt in his eyes, because in his opinion, Mok entered the venue naturally to get the devil fruit. But he didn't even dare to bid. Trash. Mok had a black question mark on his face. Is this guy mentally retarded? 200 million berries once, 200 million berries twice, 200 million berries 3 times, bang, the auctioneer knocked down the auction hammer in his hand. Deal. Then the man behind him gave a look, and the man immediately understood, holding the box and respectfully presented it to Jack. From now on, it's yours. Jack nodded with satisfaction and took it. As for the berries, the auction will take them from their pirate ship. Everything is according to the old rules. Next, auction the second devil fruit. This devil fruit is a collection sent by Lord Tesoro. So, it will definitely surprise you. Papa. At this point, he clapped his hands. Immediately, another person came up with a box containing a devil fruit. Then, the auctioneer introduced loudly, it is the animal fantasy beast, a kind of devil fruit in the form of a huedo. What? Everyone present couldn't help but exclaimed. When they just came in, they saw the promotion. Until today, they only knew that Tesoro also sent an animal-type devil fruit for auction. But they never expected that it was a mythical beast. This is a rarer existence than nature. The key is that none of the mythical beasts that have appeared so far are weak. Gurgle. Some people couldn't help but swallow their saliva, their eyes full of greed. Some people stood up excitedly and clenched their fists. If it weren't for reason telling him that this was Tesoro's territory, he would have already started to rob it. Even Drought Jack, Runty, and Page One changed their faces. The mythical beast is a more rare and powerful devil fruit than the ancient species they ate. Ha ha ha. Drought Jack laughed out loud, because in their opinion, this mythical beast is the possession of their beast pirates. Fuck. Mok. They were all shocked. Really? Huedo is a mythical beast and a disaster beast. Huedo, like Xiaotian Dog, is also a beast under the seat of a great god. Xiaotian Dog is the battle beast of Erlangshan, while Huedo is the battle beast of the fire god Zhurong. Huedo is a symbol of fire, with a black body and blazing flames from its mouth. Once it appears, it will bring a big fire. At the same time, it feeds on fire. Usually it hides behind Zhurong and devours the fire to fill its stomach. Okay. Mo Curson moved. After all, this devil fruit is equivalent to an animal type plus a natural type flame fruit. Absolutely awesome. The key is that this devil fruit is very suitable for the fighting champion Giza's badgers. With it, Giza's badger's strength will definitely be greatly improved. Reach the first level of the 7 warlords of the sea. At that time, the strength of his pirate group will be 1 point stronger. After being shocked, he muttered in his heart, Tesoro, that guy, really deserves to be the richest man in the pirate world. The first move is the mythical beast species. At this time, the auctioneer saw that the atmosphere was almost the same, immediately shouted, the starting price of this mythical beast species is 500 million berries, and the increase must not be less than 50 million berries. Chapter 63. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bang, he banged the hammer hard. The auction begins. Jack stood up directly. 550 million berries. After bidding, Jack looked around, and the murderous intent in his eyes was not concealed. All those who were ready to make a move stopped. The auctioneer frowned slightly. Jack's move was a bit against the rules. After you bid, others are afraid that you won't bid. There is nothing to say about the auction, but it is wrong to stand up and threaten everyone. 600 million. Mock bid decisively, swish, everyone looked at the position of the bidder, and when they saw that it was Mock, they were all stunned, especially Jack. In his opinion before, Mock was a piece of trash. Otherwise, he should have snatched it from him when he got the first devil fruit, so, Mock's sudden bid really caught him off guard, then his eyes narrowed, and his murderous intent was not concealed at all. At this time, Page 1 also stood up and stared at Mock arrogantly. Hey! Are you really going to be an enemy of our beasts pirates? Mock heard this, the corner of his mouth rose, with a bit of sarcasm. This is an auction house, the highest bidder wins. If you don't have berry, then go out. Don't talk nonsense here. Hey, kid, do you know what you are talking about? The irritable Runty glared. It seems that he is going to fight if he disagrees with him. Mock looked at the auctioneer. Could it be that your auction house is not the highest bidder wins? If so, then I can save a lot of berry. After saying that, Mock also stood up. Karina beside Mock trembled, she was really scared. What kind of people are these in front of her? Looking for death, Page 1 was furious and was about to take action but was stopped by Jack. Don't get excited. This is an auction house, then follow the rules of the auction house. The highest bidder wins. Then the highest bidder wins. Then he sat back. Runty and Peggy 1 looked at each other and looked at Jack with some confusion. Jack, someone is paying for our berry. We should be happy. Runty and Peggy 1 were slightly stunned when they heard this, and then they couldn't help laughing. That's right. Even if it was bought by this guy, they could get it back after it was sold out of the auction house. It's a great thing to save 550 million berry for nothing. Mock said to the auctioneer again, I think there is no higher price than mine. Should I give this devil fruit? The auctioneer took a deep breath when he heard this. 600 million berries once, 600 million berries twice, 600 million berries 3 times, bang, the auctioneer knocked down the hammer in his hand. Deal. After that, he reminded, this is your first time to auction here, so please hand over the berries here within 1 day. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. Moke chuckled, don't worry, this little money is nothing. I'll give it to you now. As he said that, Moke took off a gold jewelry from Kalina. Fruit ability user, he instantly became the gold fruit ability user, gold manipulation. Moke stretched his hand forward, and then in the shocked expressions of everyone, all the gold elements around were sucked in the air, on the ground, and under the ground. There were also gold items in the auction house, and the gold ornaments on everyone's body, all turned into gold elements and gathered in Moke's hands. Soon, a golden ball appeared. And the golden ball increased rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. The novel was taken from the Raleigh website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. And the range of Moke's move was 1,000 meters. At this time, a strange scene appeared within 1,000 meters. All the gold turned into golden sand, gathered together, and formed a golden cloud heading towards the auction house. Tesoro. Everyone's face showed anger, but they dared not speak. Compared with gold, their own lives are more important. Obviously, they all misunderstood. You know, this is the most prosperous entertainment city in the world, and this is the most prosperous area in the entertainment city. It can be said that the richest people in the entire entertainment city are gathered here. Can there be less gold? Soon a golden sphere as big as a table appeared in front of everyone. In the eyes of everyone's shock, Mock grinned and said to the auctioneer, this should be enough. The auctioneer was stunned. This is simply robbing someone else's berry to pay the bill. This manipulation is really too arrogant. Logically speaking, give a fart. Directly arresting people, do you really think they are made of mud? But, he glanced at Drought Jack, Runty, and Peggy. Tesoro had spoken, this devil fruit, no matter how many shots you take important, the important thing is to make Mock fight with Jack, Runty, and Peggy 1, so, he waved his hand. The person holding the devil fruit behind him immediately handed the devil fruit to Mock. After Mock took it, he smiled. Finally, he said to Drought Jack, Runty, and Peggy 1, thank you for letting me. After that, he picked up Kalina, whose legs were weak, and walked out. Drought Jack, Runty, and Peggy Wan looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. They never thought that this guy could manipulate gold. Isn't that Tesoro's ability? Tsk tisk. Then he got up and followed him, and laughed maliciously. Drought Jack even said to Runty and Peggy Wan, when you take action, be a little bit measured. Don't kill it. Runty and Peggy Wan nodded, their eyes full of excitement. With that ability just now, after catching him back, the beast's pirates will never lack berry. Everyone present knew what they were planning. Mock sent Kalina to the door of the casino opposite, and then turned to look at Drought Jack, Runty, and Page Wan. Hegemony. That a terrifying force erupted from his body and swept around. People on the street fell one after another without any signs, and some powerful people turned their heads in horror and looked at where Mock was. Weeble, Brooke, Perona, Giza's Badgers, Baboon King Burns, and Ada in the casino all showed puzzled expressions. He smiled and raised his eyebrows, then he said meaningfully, it seems that there will be a big fight here. Baboon King Burns stood up, I'll go out and see, maybe the captain is here. Oh. Then I'll go see it too. Ishiao stood up. Weibel, Brooke, Perona, Giza's Bias, and Ada also rushed to the door of the casino, just in time to see Mock confronting Drought Jack, Runty, and Peggy Wan. Chapter 64. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mock threw the devil fruit in his hand to Giza's Bages. I just bought it for you from the auction house, the animal mythical beast widow form fruit. It has both the animal type ability to improve itself in all aspects, and the ability to control fire. It is very suitable for you. Giza's Bages' eyes lit up. Animal mythical beast widow form. Baboon King Burns, Brooke, Perona, and Ada all exclaimed. Then, they looked at each other, secretly. This level of devil fruit can also be bought at the auction house. They didn't dare to believe it. If not, this is what their captain said. If the devil fruit had not been given to Giza's Bages, they would definitely laugh out loud. At the auction house, you can buy an animal-type mythical beast. Is there a funnier joke than this? At this time, Mock added, I spent 600 million berries to buy this, so after eating it, hurry up and improve your strength for me. 600 million berries. Giza's Bias couldn't help but exclaimed, and his hand holding the devil fruit trembled. Okay. At this moment, he felt a sense of belonging to this pirate group. He was also grateful to the Captain Mock. Not only him, but others also felt the same way. The sense of belonging to this pirate group increased greatly. The Drought Jack, Runty, and Peggy Wan on the opposite side were anxious. Jack, Runty, Peggy Wan, grab the devil fruit for me. Runty and Peggy Wan said in unison, yes. Then the two of them took action directly, and they saw that they exerted their legs and rushed directly to Giza's Bias holding the devil fruit. The Baboon King Burns changed his face. He exclaimed, Jack, Runty, and Page One from the Beast Pirates. Beast Pirates. Giza's Badgers, Brooke, Perona, and Ada all frowned. After they came to the New World, Mock had taught them about the characters of the four Emperor's pirates. Among them were these three. After Giza's Badgers reacted, he decisively swallowed the devil fruit in his hand. Because in his opinion, the devil fruit is the safest thing to eat. You dare. Runty and Page One, who rushed over, instantly entered the Beastman form, and his speed exploded instantly. Baboon King Burns and Ada looked at each other. Then the two flew out and blocked Giza's Badgers. Run head gun. This is Runty's signature move. He used the headbutt to wrap the armed color domineering to hit the Baboon King Burns who was blocking in front of him. Baboon King Burns was not afraid at all and swung his fist. Fishman Karate Samwa Punch. This is a powerful punch in Fishman Karate that uses all the strength of the body. The head and fist slammed together fiercely. Then Baboon King Burns took 2 steps back, while Runty flew 3 or 4 meters in the air before falling back to the ground. On the other side, Peggy One punched Ada, standing there without moving, as if the punch was not aimed at her. Peggy Wan's eyes were full of confusion, but he did not stop attacking. Because his fist was very close to the opponent, at this time, whether the opponent was dodging, defending, or even counterattacking. It was too late. Sure enough, the next second, his fist hit the opponent, but after this punch, Peggy Wan's face changed wildly. Because after the punch, his fist seemed to hit something very smooth. Without exerting any strength, he watched his fist slide from the side. He didn't hurt the opponent at all, not good. As a cadre of the beast's pirates, he had experienced countless battles. So his intuition and experience told him that it was dangerous, but it was too late. Ada had already calculated everything, and drew the two swords in her hands, two-sword style two-word wolf thrust. She raised the two swords and made a two-word shape. When Peggy Wan's fist slid over her and the whole person was about to pass by her, she drew her sword instantly. Puff, Peggy Wan was hit by the sword instantly, and the whole person was cut off. You know, the two swords of Ada were wrapped with armed color. Unprepared, Peggy Wan didn't have time to make an armed color wrapping defense. A two-shaped wound was cut on her chest, and blood gushed out. Peggy Wan, Runty, the brother-protecting demon, was anxious in an instant, with a look of heartache and worry on her face. After shouting, he flew up and caught Peggy Wan, but at the same time, Jack had already jumped into the air. He would never allow this mythical beast to be eaten by anyone. He had taken out the two weapons in the ivory on his shoulders, which were straight blades at the bottom and sickles at the top, and slashed at Giza's badgers in his hands. He tried to stop Giza's badgers from eating the devil fruit, Perona. Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo. Weevil, cut him. Swoosh, Weevil sniffed his nose, and then swung the big knife in his hand horizontally, aiming at Drought Jack in the air. Dang, these two guys are both power types. So their attacks can be seen as a pure collision of power. Weevil's body trembled, and the ground under his feet cracked directly. It can be seen how powerful this attack was. Drought Jack in the air was repelled and fell back to the ground. At this time, Giza's badgers had already eaten the mythical beast seed. Asshole, Drought Jack couldn't help but curse. Runty was even more furious. No one in the world could hurt her brother. He stared at Ada, as if he wanted to tear Ada into pieces, but Peggy Wan held her back. At this moment, he had to re-examine the group of people in front of him, not only him, but also Drought Jack. He first glared at Giza's Bayas, who ate the mythical beast species, then his eyes hit Weevil, who had knocked him back with a knife, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. In the previous attack, he found that he was still a step behind the opponent in terms of strength. You know, he has always won by suppressing strength. Finally, he looked at Mach. At this moment, he had to look at Mach squarely. Even the captain under his command has such strength. How could Mach, as the captain, be weak? No, it will only be stronger. The current situation can be said to be very unfavorable to him. Runty and Peggy Wan. After all, there were only two people on his side, Runty and Peggy Wan, and the other side was also only two people, but they easily blocked it. Even easily injured one person. On his side, he was also blocked by one of Mach's crew. In other words, the other side only needs 3 people to fight against them. But the other side has more than 3 people. Even the strongest Captain Mach did not take action. Under normal circumstances, choosing to retreat is the wisest choice. Who else is he? Drought Jack. He once again waved his weapon and rushed forward. But this time, his target was directly Mach. Mach's face twitched, and he thought to himself, it's worthy of being a user of the ability of the ship fruit. Really brave. Chapter 65. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mach's face twitched, and he thought to himself, you are worthy of being a user of the ship fruit. You are so brave. Then he drew out the 3-generation Kitetsu in his hand and swung it towards Jack's fist. Dang, Jack's fist was wrapped in the color of armed color, and it slashed fiercely with the 3-generation Kitetsu in Mach's hand. The terrifying power kept colliding with each other. It formed a powerful energy and swept around. The clothes on the 2 people were blown and rustled. The weak ordinary people on the street were even a little unstable. It can be seen that the 2 people reached what level this time? Your strength is not as good as your men. TSK, but Jack looked contemptuous. Because he found that under this punch, Mach's strength was far less than that of Weibel. Not as good as him. Look, under his punch. The 3-generation Kitetsu in Mach's hand was gradually pressed back by him. Mach's mouth corners slightly raised. Strength is only a part of one's own strength, not all. Crackle, as soon as the words fell, a strong electric light burst out from his body. Then the current went along his arm and wrapped around the Sandai Kitetsu, and finally passed to Drought Jack. Even if Drought Jack's body was strong, he could not withstand the terrifying current. He fell into a brief paralysis. Now. One sword flow Shura slash. The ghost energy rushed out of Mach's body, and finally wrapped around the blade of the Sandai Kitetsu, and merged with the ghost energy of the Sandai Kitetsu itself. The Sandai Kitetsu instantly appeared, a purple blade formed by ghost energy. Ha! Then Mach shouted loudly, and the power of his whole body burst out directly. He broke the fist of Drought Jack with force, and the Sandai Kitetsu fiercely slashed the chest of Drought Jack. Puff! Drought Jack's chest was cut with a deep wound that could be seen to the bone, and blood gushed out. Tap tap! Drought Jack, who was severely injured by the blow, took several steps back before he stabilized his body. The pain in his chest made Drought Jack unbelievable. You know, his idol is Kaido, and what he has always pursued is a strong body like Kaido that can ignore all attacks. Therefore, he spent a lot of energy and time on tempering his body. The effect is also remarkable. His body is ranked first in the entire New World. There are really few people who can severely injure him with one blow, and the guy in front of him did it. When he looked at Mach again, his eyes had completely changed. There was no more contempt as before, only incomparable fear. In the distance, Guild Tesoro, Mr. Tanaka, and Bakara stood on a high place, overlooking the situation. When Guild Tesoro saw Mach's men easily blocking Drought Jack, Runty, and Page 1, his face was extremely ugly. Mr. Tanaka and Bakara also looked solemn. They both have special abilities and think that they can easily deal with Runty and Page 1, but against Jack, only Tesoro can do it. Looking at the situation in front of them, they felt very disappointed. At this time, they were very glad that they had made the previous choice and did not completely turn against Mach, otherwise, it would be a bad ending. After a long silence, Guild Tesoro said, I really didn't expect that Mach's group would have such strength. I'm afraid that unless all the members of one of the 4 Emperor's pirate groups are present, otherwise, no one can defeat them. At this moment, Guild Tesoro also recognized the strength of Mach's group. Mr. Tanaka looked worried. We had a very unpleasant experience with them before. What if they want to make things difficult for us later? How will it end? Hee hee. Bakara couldn't help laughing when he heard this. There is no one in this world that Barry can't handle. If there is, then there is only one possibility, that is, there are not enough Barry. Guild Tesoro nodded. In this world, people without Barry will achieve nothing and can only be dominated, and as long as you have enough Barry, you can dominate the whole world. Even the high and mighty celestial dragons have to look at your face. What's more, a Mach, and he, Guild Tesoro, has 20% of the world's Barry. Is there anyone he can't dominate? He turned his head and looked at Bakara. Drought Jack, Runty, and Page 1 are doomed to fail in this game. We have to make amends to Mach and his gang. Doesn't Mach like devil fruits? Then send another devil fruit. Yes. Bakara did not raise any objections, because Guild Tesoro's goal has been achieved. Mach and By the Beast pirates have already made a feud. Bakara immediately went to prepare. Guild Tesoro said to Tanaka again, go contact the Big Mom pirates and tell them. I want Mach's head. The conditions are up to her. Mr. Tanaka, I'll do it right away. After giving orders, Guild Tesoro's mouth slightly raised. I don't want to see how you survive the Navy headquarters and the New World Bureau. If you offend me, Guild Tesoro, no matter who you are, you will die. At the same time, Mach hit Drought Jack hard with a blow and was about to pursue the victory. Giza's Bayas stood up, with an excited look on his face. Captain, let me try the power of this devil fruit. As soon as the words fell, Giza's Bayas immediately entered the beastman form. At the same time, he raised his hand, and the flames immediately covered the entire fist. Seeing this, Mach's eyes lit up and he smiled. Okay. I'm also curious about the power of this devil fruit. Asshole. Drought Jack was very annoyed by this behavior of changing people at the last minute, and changing to a weaker one. Because, in his opinion, this was a humiliation to him. He bent his legs slightly, then exerted force, and rushed out again. The target was still Mach. Sure enough, Drought Jack is Drought Jack, one word, brave. But think about it, this guy dared to approach Crane, Warring States, and Ishiao in the original book. Now he understands that this guy is the type who will not retreat until he is defeated. Fire Fist. Giza's Bayas punched Drought Jack, and the flames on his hand surged, turning into a huge flaming fist blast towards Drought Jack. Drought Jack's face changed drastically, because he was too familiar with this move. After all, under Kaido's leadership, he had fought against the Whitebeard pirates countless times, so he had also fought against Ace the Fire Fist. He never expected that this mythical beast could rival Ace the Fire Fist. This shocked him greatly. However, he reacted quickly, and while still attacking, he directly wrapped his weapon with armament haki. Then, he blocked in front of him. Chapter 66. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom, Drought Jack was directly engulfed by the flames. When everything returned to calm, Drought Jack stood there with smoke coming out of his body. Tue, Drought Jack spat to one side. Then he turned his head and finally laughed crazily. Ha ha ha, with the laughter, the whole person has turned into a huge mammoth. With a flick of his trunk, he went directly to Giza's Bages. Why ha ha ha, Giza's Bages couldn't help but laugh loudly, and finally punched out. With a raging flame, he met Jack's trunk. In terms of strength, Giza's Bages is still a little weaker. The whole person retreated 7 or 8 steps before stopping. However, it is normal. He just ate the devil fruit, although his strength has indeed been greatly improved. But the improvement is limited. When he develops this devil fruit to the next level, his strength will directly leap. Fire explosion. Giza's Bayas had already understood this in this head-on confrontation, so, it was a very wise choice. Use the power of the devil fruit to fight. He bent his legs slightly, and then exerted force, and the whole person soared into the sky. The last punch hit the ground fiercely, and the flames immediately exploded on his fist, formed a circle of fire, sweeping around. Fuck, too excited. Baboon King Burns, Brook, Perona, Atta, and Ishiao retreated directly. Because they didn't want to be affected. After all, this was a large-scale attack, and this kind of large-scale attack usually doesn't distinguish between friend and foe. The same is true for Runty and Peggy Wan. They already understood it very well at this time. The current situation is extremely unfavorable to them. Even if they add the two of them, they are far from being opponents of Mock's group. The two looked at each other and had made a decision in their hearts. Taking this opportunity to avoid the circle of fire, they left quickly. They didn't want to accompany Drought Jack to go crazy here. If Mock stood there without moving, he would naturally see Runty and Page 1, then he turned into an electric current and quickly chased after him. He was not worried about Drought Jack at all, although Giza's Badgers, who had just eaten the devil fruit, was probably not his opponent, but there were Weevil, Baboon King Burns, Brook, Perona, and Atta. It was more than enough to deal with Drought Jack. Swoosh, Mock caught up with the two and appeared in front of Runty and Page 1. His eyes fell on the backpack on Page 1's back. Because there was the animal Black Panther fruit, he suddenly thought that this devil fruit would be good for Weevil. Even if it was not developed, the improvement of oneself after eating it alone, it could also make Weevil's strength stronger. Page 1 naturally noticed Mock's gaze, and his heart tightened. Runty's face changed wildly, and she complained in her heart. Before, they were thinking about stealing each other's devil fruit. Now, they were robbed. At the same time, she flashed in front of Peggy 1. Mock's eyes naturally fell on Runty. Not to mention, with a big body, thin waist and long legs, she is also a hot girl. Although her face is covered, she has a pair of big eyes, blinking. You can tell at a glance that her appearance is not bad. Therefore, Mock suddenly became interested in Runty's true appearance. Before Runty saw that Mock's attention was on her, she turned to Peggy 1 and said, "I will hold him back, you go quickly, let's go together." Peggy 1 looked determined. They have been dependent on each other since childhood and have a deep relationship. How could they leave alone? Hearing this, Runty's eyes condensed, and she said sternly, "Then let's fight to the death." Run head gun. Runty immediately entered the human beast form. She used the head hammer wrapped with armed color domineering to hit Mock. The power of this move is comparable to that of a large caliber artillery, which can crack the skull of an ordinary person, smash through the floor, and blow away the people around. The power of the run-head gun in the human beast form is even stronger. In the original work, she used this move to beat Nami and Usopp without any chance to fight back, but Mach is not Nami, let alone Usopp. He raised his hand and wrapped the armed collar around his hand, and then directly grabbed Runty's head that hit him. Runty was embarrassed, because she found that her head was firmly held in Mach's hand. Her attack was like a joke. It didn't hurt Mach at all. Not only that, no matter how she struggled now, she couldn't get rid of Mach's hand. Sister, Peggy 1 was shocked. It turned into a velociraptor, and then swung its tail and hit Mach. Trying to save Runty, Mach held Runty and blocked it. Bang! Peggy 1's tail hit Runty's back fiercely. Runty, who was unprepared, was bleeding from the corner of her mouth, although she was seriously injured. Runty, Peggy 1 exclaimed. He never thought that Mach would use Runty's body to block his attack. He was in a dilemma for a while. If he didn't attack, he couldn't save Runty. Attack. What if Mach used Runty's body to block his attack again? Tisk. Looking at Runty in front of him, Mach was a little curious. I have a question in my mind. Why do you two wear masks? Is it because you are too ugly? Sure enough, women can't stand people saying she is ugly. Runty, who was being carried, struggled and retorted, you are ugly. Mach laughed playfully, really? Then let me take a look. As he said that, he reached out to the mask on Runty's face with his other hand. No, Runty was shocked, and even Peggy 1 looked anxious. He was puzzled by the reactions of Runty and Peggy 1. It's just a mask, isn't it? Just take it off. Is it really so ugly that it's unbearable to look at? No, I beg you. When Mach's hand touched the mask on Runty's face, Runty actually softened. She even cried. Mach was a little confused for a moment. What's the big deal? He was beaten and captured just now, but he didn't act like this. It's really hard to understand. You're a bit too much. It's like I'm doing something to you. Peggy 1, who had taken off her backpack, said to Mach, as long as you don't take off Runty's mask, I can give you this devil fruit now. Mach couldn't understand it even more. Once this devil fruit is handed over, even if they run away, it will be difficult to explain to Kaido. The most important thing is, isn't it just a mask? How can it be more important than life, okay? Mach's curiosity has been completely aroused. If he doesn't see her true face today, he's afraid he won't be able to sleep tonight, so he decisively tore off the mask. Just one glance, Mach was stunned. Chapter 67. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How to say it. Runty's appearance and her personality are two completely different extremes. To be precise, she is a baby-faced Jr. In other words, she is a cute and fierce loli, but she is not of the same style as Perona. Perona is the silly little princess type. Runty is a little bit childish, very cute, but this is not the key, because there is a tattoo on her left face. Although it is normal for a pirate to have two tattoos, this tattoo is different, because this tattoo is a taboo in this world. Celestial Dragon Hoofprint. It represents the supreme power of the celestial dragons and the humbleness and humiliation of slaves. No one will tattoo this thing, and anyone with a celestial dragon hoofprint is the private property of the celestial dragons. No matter where you are, you will be caught back. Even the highest combat power of the Navy will be dispatched directly, therefore, people with celestial dragon hoofprints will hide it. One is to fear being hunted down by the Navy Admiral, and the other is not to face the humiliating past, or, it is the most difficult hurdle for all the slaves of the celestial dragons. Because, as long as it is still on their bodies, they will always be slaves of the celestial dragons. Once exposed, even Kaido, one of the 4 emperors, may not be able to save them. Mach put Runty down, and then looked at page 1, with a bit of scrutiny. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be it on your face too. Page 1 seemed to have accepted his fate and took off the mask on his own initiative. Revealing his true face, this guy looks pretty good. However, the hoof print of the celestial dragon on his face ruined everything. Mach was silent. I suddenly felt some sympathy for Runty and page 1. How those celestial dragons treat slaves can also be seen in the original book. Originally wanted to deal with them. Now, give you two choices. 1. Join my pirate group, I will remove the hoof print of the celestial dragon for you. 2. Die under my knife. Of course, he is not a saint, there are other purposes for saving them. First, these two guys are pretty strong. Moreover, one is 22 and the other is 20, still young, and being young means there is potential. Seriously speaking, the two of them are geniuses. By taking them in, we can have two crew members with some strength and potential. Second, if we calculate the time, Hancock, who also has the hoofprint of the celestial dragon, should be about 28 or 29 now. She was captured and made a slave of the celestial dragons at the age of 12, and was rescued by the leader of the fishmen at the age of 16, so it is 12 or 13 years ago. Runty and Peggy-Wan were not 7 or 9 years old at that time, but 8 or 10 years old. Therefore, it is very likely that these two people were rescued 12 or 13 years ago, just like Hancock, so they may know each other. Using this as a bridge, we should be able to gain Hancock's initial trust. Then, by removing the hoofprint of the celestial dragon for her to improve her favorability, directly increasing the chance of taking her down to the highest level, even if we can't take her down, when the 7 warlords of the sea are lifted and the navy attacks. When she can no longer stay in the kingdom of women, we'll choose to come to him. Third, this little Lolita Runty in front of her, and Perona just form a Lolita group. It is also a very good choice. TSK. Kill 3 birds with 1 stone, what? Runty and Page 1 couldn't help but exclaimed. The look in their eyes when looking at Mach has also changed. It is no longer the fear and begging before, there are only shock and expectations. Why did they join the beast's pirates? First, because Kaido is strong enough, and they worship the strong. Second, because once their identities are exposed, with Kaido's character and strength, they may be saved. However, if the Tianlong hoofprint can be removed, then they will be reborn. Say goodbye to that painful memory completely. This is something they dare not dream of on weekdays, because the Tianlong hoofprint cannot be removed. Even if someone has this ability, no one dares to remove it for them. Because once discovered, the consequences are too serious. Really, can it really be removed? At this time, Runty seemed to have forgotten her fear and was excited. Mach nodded. This Tianlong hoofprint should have been put on with Lot yellow and then colored with tattoo pigments. So, strictly speaking, this is a kind of injury. And as long as it is an injury, I can make it recover as before. Really? After getting a clear answer, Runty and Peggy-Wan's eyes lit up. Then the two looked at each other, and the tacit understanding between each other immediately saw the answer from each other's eyes, so they nodded together. Runty, Peggy-Wan, meet the captain. Ha ha ha, Mach couldn't help laughing, and then merged with the strange power on the holy sword. The ghost energy of the body emerged from Mach's body. Finally, it gathered in Mach's hand, then Mach stretched out his hand to Runty. Runty subconsciously dodged backwards for a while. After all, Mach's strong means just now left a deep impression on her. Strong, domineering, and terrifying strength. Mach, don't move. I will remove this dragon hoof print for you now. Runty immediately stood there and let Mach put his hand on her face, then she felt that Mach's hand was gently stroking her face. The magical power from Mach's hand made her face feel itchy, and the touch of Mach's hand made her heart itchy. She subconsciously looked at Mach. He was so handsome and mighty, and his strong, domineering, and terrifying strength also turned into a flash of light at this moment. Her face turned red all of a sudden, and as Mach touched, the dragon hoof print on Runty's face faded at a speed visible to the naked eye. This scene naturally caught Peggy-Wan's eyes. This made him extremely excited, because Mach could really remove the dragon's hoof prints for them. That's great. In the end, he even saw that Mach had absorbed all the color from the dragon's hoof prints. Runty's skin became as smooth and white as other parts of her body, so, Peggy-Wan couldn't wait to move his face closer. Mach. Pa. Then Mach slapped her, and Peggy-Wan's face immediately had another slap mark. At the same time, its dragon's hoof print immediately became lighter. Peggy-Wan looked aggrieved. Captain, Mach rolled his eyes. Do you want me to rub your face for a long time like I treated your sister? Peggy-Wan, the picture appeared in his mind, and his whole body froze, because the picture was too beautiful. Forget it, I'd better take 2 more slaps. It's not a big deal, Runty knew from Peggy Wan's reaction that the dragon hoof print on her face had really been removed. She couldn't help but touch it with her hand. Her little face was red with excitement. When she looked at Mach again, her eyes were full of gratitude. At the same time, there was a bit of strange emotion in her eyes. Because, at this moment, she was actually a little disappointed. If only the captain's hand could rub it for a while longer, that kind of tenderness was something she had never experienced before. Chapter 68. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Captain, this is the devil fruit. Peggy 1 immediately handed the backpack containing the devil fruit to Mach. Mach took it, the corners of his mouth could not help but slightly rise, and he got another devil fruit, really good, boom. At this moment, a violent explosion occurred at the auction house. It immediately attracted the attention of Mach, Runty, and Peggy 1, and the three of them looked over at the same time. They saw thunder and lightning raging there. Runty and Peggy 1 couldn't help but widen their eyes, because the power of the thunder could be felt even by them who were far away. It was very deterrent. It can be seen what the fate of the person who bears the brunt will be. Haha, Moke laughed, because it was obviously the work of Enel, and he laughed secretly. Is this guy so angry because his good thing was ruined? Then he turned to Runty and Page 1 and said, "Come on, I'll take you to meet the vice-captain of our pirate group." Runty and Page 1 looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. If they are not mistaken, this should be the legendary thunder fruit with the greatest destructive power in the natural system. In other words, their pirate group has a vice-captain who is equivalent to an admiral. Weibel, who was able to fight Jack before, and the baboon king Burns and Ada who easily stopped them. In addition, Giza's Bias, whose strength has increased greatly after eating the mythical beast. There are also two people who have not yet shown their strength, Brook and Perona. This lineup, in terms of high-end combat power alone, is not inferior to any of the four Emperor's pirate groups. If so, their captain is already a strong man at the level of the four Emperors. Then, the New World may have another pirate emperor. Who is this guy? Could it be the guy that Tanaka said came with Mach? Gil Tesoro in the distance has been paying attention to the development of the situation. He never expected that Giza's Badgers and Drought Jack were fighting fiercely. Such a guy suddenly appeared. Gulp. Gil Tesoro couldn't help swallowing his saliva, because this devil fruit was designed to restrain him. He is gold, and the opponent is thunder. He has nowhere to run. He will be killed in a second. No, this guy has to die like Mach. Otherwise he will have trouble sleeping and eating. Not just him, Baboon King Burns, Giza's Badgers, Brook, Perona, Ada, and even Ishiao, one by one. All showed shocked expressions, especially Giza's Badgers, because this man was standing in front of him at this time. When this guy appeared just now, the gesture of rubbing thunder in his hands almost scared him to pee. He turned his head and looked at Drought Jack, who had fallen to the ground and twitched all over. The corners of his mouth twitched, because he understood very well, even if he had eaten the mythical beast species, his strength was still a step behind Drought Jack. After all, he had just eaten the devil fruit. Although he had fought back and forth with Drought Jack just now, he would be the only one to lose in a battle of time. But even Drought Jack was defeated. If he had been hit by this, the result would have been even worse. Therefore, he was very wary of this guy who suddenly appeared. He was on full alert. At this time, Enel turned his head and looked at Giza's Bias, with a bit of curiosity in his eyes. Because he had just seen it clearly, another flame. Sure enough, what Mach said was right. Above this Qinghai, there are indeed many gods. Then he looked to the side, Baboon King Burns, Brook, Perona, Ada, Ishiao. When his eyes fell on Ishiao, his pupils shrank suddenly. With his observation hockey, he could naturally feel that this guy's strength was very terrifying. Wait, it seems that something strange has mixed in. His eyes quickly swept back and finally fell on Brook. He was stunned at first, and then his eyes almost popped out. Living skeleton. Enelu, you are done so quickly. At this time, Mach came back with Runty and Peggy 1. Giza's Bias first glanced at Runty and Page 1, then asked, "Who is the captain?" Mach, formally introduce him. He is Enelu, the user of the nature thunder fruit. He is also the vice-captain of our pirate group. After saying that, he immediately added, "And Runty and Page 1 behind me have also officially become our partners." You all get to know each other, that Nature Thunder Fruit. Vice Captain. These two guys have also joined our pirate group. Baboon King Burns, Giza's Badgers, Brooke, Perona, Ada, and others were all more shocked than each other. But, they immediately laughed more happily than each other, because this means that the strength of their pirate group has been greatly improved again. At this time, Mok's eyes fell on Ishiao. Mr. Ishiao, it's nice to see you here. He just nodded with a smile, even with some rejection. Mok raised his eyebrows slightly, knowing that the Baboon Kingburn had not yet dealt with him. So he did not force it, and stopped at the point. Otherwise, it would have a counterproductive effect. At the same time, he winked at the Baboon Kingburns, and the Baboon Kingburns made a gesture. It means that he understands and will continue to win over. At this time, Karina has completely understood the strength of the Mok pirates. In her heart, she has also made a decision. She walked to Mok's side very naturally, put her arms around Mok's arms, and showed a very charming smile. Captain, should I introduce her too? Mok was a little surprised. Oh. You agreed? Karina nodded. Okay, Mok said hello 3 times. Turning to introduce to everyone, her name is Karina. From now on, she is also one of us. She is the singer here and is very familiar with this place. So, after we take over this place, she will be in charge of the operation here. You should give her more support. As he spoke, he hugged Kalina's small waist. This time Kalina did not reject it, but was very obedient, leaning into Mok's arms very naturally. When Runty, who was behind Mok, saw this scene, her face looked a little unnatural. The others nodded, the smiling expression froze. He never thought that Mok had already set his sights on this place. You know, even the 4 emperors dare not move lightly here. After all, this place has a close relationship with the world government and the celestial dragons. Even, there are people from the world government here all the time. I couldn't help but admire in my heart. Really courageous. Just as Ishiao thought, there are people from the world government here all the time. For example, at this moment, there is a woman wearing a white flowered hat, a pink dress and a white shawl, standing in a hidden corner, observing the development of the situation. She is an elegant woman with short golden curly hair, blue eyes, a tall figure and a very good appearance. Who is she? She is. Chapter 69. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huh. Enelu turned his head and looked over. With his observation haki, few people could hide from him. Mok raised his eyebrows. Someone? He knew Enelu's arrogant personality. Anyone who could be noticed by him must be very strong. Enelu nodded. 2, one is in the front and high up. The other is hiding in the corner. Mok didn't even have to guess the one in the high up, because that must be Guild Tesoro, who is in the corner. Bakara. Mr. Tanaka. I'm afraid these 2 people are not in Enelu's eyes. He was a little curious. So he said, force him out. Enelu turned around, raised his hand and discharged electricity, and a column of electricity went directly in that direction. Boom, the strong current directly forced the person hiding in the corner out. I saw a graceful figure jumping out and landing on the street. Shave, Mok entered high-speed movement and appeared in front of the man in an instant. The fist had already been swung, but when he saw this person, he was slightly stunned. The fist slowed down a bit, because this was an acquaintance. She was a woman with short golden curly hair, and the silky hair gently brushed across her fair cheeks, exuding a faint fragrance. Her eyes were like deep lakes, and her blue pupils flashed charming light, as if they could penetrate people's souls. She was tall and slender, with perfect proportions, and every step exuded a unique and elegant temperament. Her appearance was even more amazing, with delicate facial features like a work of art under the hands of a master sculptor, and her slightly upturned lips with a barely noticeable smile, which made people fall in love with her. Her skin was smooth and delicate, like white jade, exuding a faint luster. Her every frown, smile, and every move were full of charm, attracting the attention of people around her. Who is such a beautiful and elegant woman? She is. Stussy. Mok narrowed his eyes, because this woman is not simple. She has many identities, and can be said to be a multiple spy. First of all, Stussy is a clone, and is the first successful work of the MADS cloning experiment. for unknown reasons, she has been hiding in the secret intelligence agency CP0 directly under the celestial dragons for more than 20 years. Her main job is to monitor, infiltrate, and collect intelligence. Then, as a CP0, she sneaked into the underground society for the mission and became one of the emperors of the underground world. Known as the Queen of Fun Street, but she has always been on the side of Vegabank, and betrayed CP0 in Egghead to protect Vegabank. Lucci and Kaku, who were very cool when they appeared, were knocked down by her directly. Although it was a sneak attack, it also shows her strength and scheming. At this time, Stussy was sneaking into the underground society as a CP0, in other words, she is now the Queen of Fun Street. If he guessed correctly, the street where Enel was having fun just now was Happy Street. In the underground world, she and Guild Tesoro should have a cooperative relationship. At the same time, she was sent by the world government to monitor Guild Tesoro at all times. He and Enel, Giza's Bias, Drought Jack, Runty, and Page 1 made such a big noise. How could she not pay attention? Stussy looked at the fist getting closer and closer, and her pupils shrank suddenly. With a force on her legs, the whole person retreated 7 or 8 meters away. Then, she stood there and stared at Mach and Enel. At this time, her heart was in her throat, because none of them in front of her could be dealt with by her. Interesting. Mach laughed. Huh. Stussy took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. Then she showed a charming smile. Don't get me wrong, I am Stussy, the Queen of Happy Street. I was just attracted by the noise here, and I don't have any bad intentions. Mach took a deep look at Stussy and said meaningfully, I hope one day, we can have the opportunity to cooperate. He really thought so, because if he has a good relationship with her, he might be able to get Vegabank over. When he appears, he will be followed by a row of seraphim. Just thinking about it is very cool. The most important thing is that you can make this seraphim whatever you want. At that time, it will be a whole old lady when she was young, which is very beautiful. This is simply the favorite of all otakus. It is much stronger than those inflatable and silicone ones in the previous life. Stussy. She was very puzzled in her heart, although she was one of the kings of the underground world. But, in the final analysis, it is only he is a pornographic person. Most people look down on him. She saw this point, so she started from this aspect and entered the underground world. Does he want to open an entertainment venue with her? If he really thinks so, she doesn't mind. Anyway, she entered the underground world just to get good relations with people from all sides and get intelligence. She has seen what level Mach is. If she makes friends with him, the world government will naturally be happy to see it happen. Then we will talk about it later, Stussy said and tried to leave. Seeing that Mach did not mean to stop him, he was very surprised. However, he was relieved and took the opportunity to leave quickly. Swish. Mach and Enel looked to the other side together again, because they both felt that someone was coming towards them. Soon a person came out through the wall. It was Mr. Tanaka under Guild Tesoro, who was holding a box in his hand. Handed it to Mach. This is a gift from Tesoro, I hope you accept it. Oh. Mach was a little surprised, but he came to his senses immediately. This is to reconcile with him. Of course, Mach is not stupid. He will not really believe that Guild Tesoro wants to reconcile. Guild Tesoro's purpose is very clear. At least now, he does not want Mach to do anything to him. Mach smiled, because it is exactly what he wants. After all, the Navy headquarters has not announced the execution of Ace. He has to wait a little longer, so his eyes fell on the box in Mr. Tanaka's hand. Mr. Tanaka immediately added, these are the 2 animal-type fruits collected by Tesoro. This one is the fantasy beast species you took. The other one is this. Animal Ancient Bloodthirsty King Kong Form Fruit. Ancient Bloodthirsty King Kong Form. Fuck. Mach suddenly felt that the animal Black Panther fruit he had obtained before was not fragrant at all. Is there anything more suitable for Weevil than this animal Ancient Bloodthirsty Diamond Fruit? After eating this devil fruit, I'm afraid that Green Bull will feel a headache when he sees him. It must be said that Guild Tesoro is really worthy of being the richest man in the pirate world. He gave a mythical beast and an ancient one at a time. He believed that Guild Tesoro had more than these 2, at least there must be a parahuman type, because, if you want to collect, you can't just collect the animal type. Chapter 70. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mach was more determined to kill Guild Tesoro. Then, Mach and Enel returned to the crowd and handed the animal ancient bloodthirsty diamond fruit to Edward Weeble. Weeble tilted his head and sniffed his nose, a little puzzled. Mach did not explain, but said directly, "This is delicious, eat it." "Delicious? Fruit?" Weeble smiled, and then took it and stuffed it directly into his mouth. Then, he was in a state of confusion. Mach understood that this was his sudden ability to understand. There was no way, this guy's mind was too simple. It would probably take a long time to adapt, so, Mach turned to the baboon King Burns and said, "His devil fruit is an animal ancient species bloodthirsty King Kong form. And yours is a King Kong form. Just by the name, you know they belong to the same category. So, you come and teach him." After that, he added, "Be patient, it may take a long time to learn." The baboon King Burns nodded. "Don't worry, Captain, I will teach him well. From Champion Island all the way here, he and Weibel have been together for a while. How could he not understand Weibel's specialness?" Mach's eyes swept over all his companions, and finally fell on Jack the Drought lying on the ground. "It is estimated that at this time, Guild Tesoro has passed the news that we captured Jack alive to Kaido, the beast. If you stay here, you will inevitably face the beast pirates. And Enelu and I have to go to the Navy headquarters first, so, you have to leave here temporarily. Or let Guild Tesoro think that you have left, and when the battle between the Navy headquarters and Whitebeard begins, you will immediately take over this place." After saying this, he added, "Remember to try not to hurt ordinary people here." As soon as these words came out, he smiled silently, and his face changed slightly. Although it is just a sentence, it reveals a lot of information. Therefore, the world government and the Navy can do this. Maybe this world will not be so chaotic. Baboon King Burns, Giza's Badgers, Brooke, Perona, Ada, Runty, and Peggy One all nodded, because they understood what Mach meant. Mach then turned to look at Enelu. "Let's go. I'll take you to the Navy headquarters. When you get there, you'll see the strong men from all sides of Qinghai." Enelu laughed when he heard this, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Then the two of them turned into two flashes of lightning in the eyes of everyone and left quickly. The way they chose was to pass through the windless area, because that would save a lot of distance. For people like them who can fly in the air, it saves both effort and time. How fast is the speed of electricity and light? It's so fast that you doubt your life. This is why Kizaru was sent out in the Sabaody Archipelago incident in the original book, because no matter where he is, he can get there in the first place. Navy headquarters. Sengoku looked solemn, because he also got information about Mach's group from Guild Tesoro. It must be said that Mach's strength has not only grown beyond his expectations. Even his ability to recruit crew members and develop power far exceeded his expectations. Another Red Hair pirate group. The novel was taken from the Raleigh website. Close where you're reading it and support us on our website for more free novels. That's how Red Hair rose at an astonishing speed. Before you could react, he had already reached a point that everyone was afraid of and had no way to deal with a group of crew members. He snatched food from the three emperors, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom, and became the fourth emperor. At that time, the three pirate emperors, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom, took turns to attack him, but they were blocked one by one. This shows the strength of Red Hair and his crew. His hand subconsciously tapped the table, which was a habit of his thinking. After a long time, he made a conclusion in his heart. Turning to Vice Admiral Tsuru, she said, "Take this opportunity to inform Doflamingo and ask him to attack together with Kuma. Leave Mach behind." Vice Admiral Tsuru pondered for a moment after hearing this, and then nodded. "I'll do it. Doflamingo has always had a grudge against Mach. I think he will cooperate very well this time." At this point, she changed the subject. "However, there is something strange about Gecko Mariah. There is no response at all. We sent someone to investigate, but they disappeared without a trace. How about letting Kuma go again?" Sengoku shook his head. "Not now. His experiment is at a critical moment. Vegapunk will not let him go. It's good enough that Kuma can participate in the battle with Whitebeard. Vice Admiral Tsuru, then leave him alone for now." Sengoku narrowed his eyes. "Remove his title of Shichibukai." Originally, the the Shichibukai is already full. They are Kuma, Jinbei, Hawkeye, Doflamingo, Hancock, Mach, and Blackbeard. Gecko Mariah's strength has seriously declined. If it weren't for that, he would have to fight Whitebeard. Let him come to fill up the battle strength. The moment Blackbeard becomes Shichibukai, Gecko Mariah is no longer necessary. Vice Admiral Tsuru nodded, then turned his head to look at the sky outside the window, and murmured, calculating the time, they should be here too. Sengoku stood up and walked towards the meeting place of the Shichibukai. Swoosh. .2 lightning bolts fell on the Navy headquarters. Who? The people in the Navy headquarters were startled one by one. They looked at the two with a wary face. However, when they saw Mach's appearance clearly, they all breathed a sigh of relief because they recognized Mach's identity. One of the majors stepped forward immediately. You are here to attend the 7 Warlords meeting. I will take you to the place where the 7 Warlords meeting is held now. Mach glanced around. He saw the navy around him. Each of them was full of energy and had sharp eyes. They were elite soldiers, and there were many powerful ones among them, and the number was very large. He couldn't help but praise in his heart, it's really worthy of being the elite soldiers of the Navy headquarters. At the same time, he nodded and followed the major to the place where the 7 Warlords meeting was held. While Mach was looking at these Navy soldiers, the Navy was also looking at Mach. Of course, they also noticed Enelu. His eyes were full of inquiry, if they had seen it just now. Mach and this person both turned into lightning and fell. Even the major who led Mach turned his head from time to time and looked at Enelu. Soon they came to the place where the 7 Warlords meeting was held, and the major withdrew. Because at this time, he was not qualified to enter. Mach and Enelu were unimpeded. When they entered, they saw Hawkeye sitting in the middle with his legs crossed, looking contemptuous of the world. To his right was the pirate Queen Hancock, and to his left was Doflamingo. Next to him were Blackbeard and Jinbei. Mach's mouth corners could not help but slightly rise. The bear was probably still in the laboratory. Gecko Mariah had been killed by him. So, all the 7 warlords of the sea were present. When Mach was looking at them, they were also looking at Mach.